Que no, no vas a compartir nada, ningún documento o nada, ¿no?
No, no, solo conversación.
Ok. Okay. ¿Empezamos?
Sí.
Ok. Veo que está Francis. Si quieres poner tu vídeo. Y empezamos. All right. Okay. Actually, Jelena, I'm going to make you a co-host, and if you can keep letting people in, would you mind doing that? Okay.
Muy bien, ni un problema.
Gracias.
But I'll make sure to mute myself.
Okay.
Bad.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. Bienvenidos. We are here today for Voices of Fall and Voces de Otoño. This is I think the third year that we've done this. It's our third annual event of this. You can see on the screen, and I'll stop this in a minute, some information about upcoming events, and I'll put this up again at the end. So my name is Novia Pagone. I'm an assistant professor of Spanish language and literatures at GSU. And I'm a co-director with Dr. Jelena Radovic-Fanta, who's also here, of the Making Spanish and Global Studies Accessible to All grant, which is supported by the Department of Education. This event is supported by our grant, but also by the GSU Library Intellectual Life Grant. So we want to thank those people and thank, of course, the College of Arts and Sciences, Dean Merrick, Stacy Amidio, who's here, who's been helping promote some of these events. And then a huge thank you to Rey Andújar, who helps us bring in amazing speakers for you to hear. And we can do this now virtually. So it works out really well because we can have people join us from all across the country and the world, right? So I just want to welcome everyone. I'm going to introduce Rey, and then he'll introduce you to our guest speaker for the day. So as most of you probably know, Rey Andújar is also an assistant professor of Spanish language and literatures here at GSU. He's also a writer of novels and theater and film, and has a film that's based on his novel Candela, which is just making its way around the world and building quite a viewership and doing really well at festivals and all of that. So we're really proud of him. We're glad he's here, and I'll hand it over to you, Rey.
Well, thank you. Thank you everybody for being here. Thank you, Novia and Jelena, for help us organize and putting this together and making a dream come true, right? Like making a dream a reality. Thank you for all the GSU community and also for the students who are supporting this event and will be participating today. And of course, thank you for Francis Mateo. Thank you, Francis Mateo. I'm gonna talk a little bit about you, right? Francis Mateo obtained a Bachelor in English Literature from Hunter College and an M.F.A. in acting from Brooklyn College. Francis' poetry and short stories have been published in different magazines in places like Argentina, Germany, and the Dominican Republic, also where he hails from. He has performed his poetry with a rock band that is called La Sovietika, and also is an author. He has published collections, a couple of poetry collections like Ubre, and also one that is one of my favorites, El Alto. But also Francis is an actor. He has acted in Broadway and off-Broadway productions, especially things with the Shakespeare Theater, the Classical Theater of Harlem, and the Shakespeare Forum as well. Novia was telling you guys a little bit about Voices of Fall and Voices of Spring. This initiative started a couple of years ago, and we have been able to bring here writers like Kiani Antigua, Yaisa Jimenez. We brought also Osvaldo Estrada. So it's a great opportunity for us to share our writing experience with the world. So Francis, again, thank you, man, for being here. I know that you are extremely busy.
No, thank you, and thank you for the invitation, and thank you for letting me talk. I mean, this is fantastic. We have people here, and that matters to me a lot.
That's great. So, following your social media, I saw that you recently were part of the Dominican Writers Roundtable in New York this weekend. So maybe we'll take that as an opportunity so you can talk to us a little bit about that event and also tell us a little bit of your story too. Like, what's this connection with Dominican Republic in New York, and how's that comes into your story, but also what do you take from that to make your stories? What are those stories?
Okay, let's see. Let's begin at the beginning, I guess. This past weekend, it was celebrated here in New York, the book fair of New York, like the Dominican Book Fair in New York. And we were invited by the Dominican Writers Association, which is helmed by there's so many Angies that I'm like, Angie Abreu. Yeah, no, it's like you have to take the Angie. So I was like, wait a second, which Angie? But Angie Abreu, she's at the helm.
Angie Cruz and Angie Abreu. So, but this one is Angie Abreu.
Abreu. Angie Abreu, which is doing a fantastic job trying to spotlight Dominican authors that are writing basically in English and also writing in Spanish, but it's just like they're based in the United States. And she's doing a fantastic job highlighting that. And she had a panel for the book fair, and Angie Cruz was there. I met her. Claver, I think is her name.
Clavis, right?
Clavis Natera. Roberto Carlos. We had la que escribió Song of the Water Saints. The name, I'm really horrible with names, guys. But it was a really, like, the people that were there, they were like, all of them were like really hardcore writers, great writers, amazing writers, and amazing people too. And it was a pretty fun afternoon. Now, how do I link it up to how do I start writing? And that's what was the question, or is it like how do I incorporate New York, basically Washington Heights, into the writing?
First, I want to know about you. Like, I'm intrigued. How is it that a Dominican kid ends up in New York? That's what I want to say. Tell me, we know those stories of immigration and all that, but I want to know a little bit of your background. How is it that you end up there?
Oh yeah, sure. My family's been here since part of my family, not of my immediate family, but they've been in New York since 1969. So a bunch of them were here, close family members, uncles and aunts. And it was just a matter of time. It was just a matter of time where they have like, okay, you guys gotta go come over here because the economical situation is not as easy as if you were here. So basically back in the 90s when I was a kid, they were like, let's go to New York. And I was like, let's go. What am I going to do? I don't have.
How old were you when you?
I was 16. I was fresh off high school, graduating high school.
You see, I remember that because I remember you and I having this conversation because I was intrigued. And you were in La Capital, right?
No. I'm actually from a town called Mao Valverde.
Oh, so you're there, Cibao.
Yeah.
Is Carla your wife that is from the city then?
Carla is from La Capital.
Then yes. You see, because I know that you guys look familiar to me in a way, and and that's what I was when I asked you that question. I wanted to know, and also because it's important to me to see like how early because Diaz, he moved like when he was 4, right?
Yeah, I think he was pretty young. He was
exactly. So if you see in his writing, maybe you can see that his formative years were in the United States.
In the United States.
But you say that you moved at 16, so you had a life in the Dominican Republic.
I had a life, definitely. I had a life. I was, and there's even one of the poems in El Alto, I think the first one that deals with that, like the last day I was there when they were throwing me a farewell party, which it was funny because I was translating yesterday and I was just like, oh, it just, but that's disregard that. But the thing is, I had a whole life and I have events and things, and I lived a life in the Dominican Republic. And then I came here and it was basically comparing the things. I adapted really fast to it. mainly because I wasn't in an area where a lot of Dominicans were, because I was in downtown Manhattan, because the family has been living in New York for so long that they didn't come to Washington Heights. They were in downtown Manhattan by the Village. So that was quite a different approach to New York City when you have to do it in English. Maybe because I took English classes in the Dominican Republic, but I wasn't really fluent. I was just, okay, I don't think I'm fluent yet, but we're working on it.
Well, you know that, like when you move here, you realize that you don't know English.
You're like, shoot, I don't know anything. There was this guy who was in the train, and he's like, he was telling me, is that paper new? And I couldn't understand what he was saying. And he was talking about my newspaper, if it was today's newspaper. And I was just like, wow, I didn't understand a single thing he was saying. Is that paper new? And also he had the New York accent, you know, so I was like, oh, well, fantastic.
Yeah, that's great. Do you have that Alto poem that you mentioned there? Do you have it close to you there?
The one for the farewell party?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I read it in Spanish?
You should, yeah.
Or should I read it in English? Because I just translated that poem yesterday.
Let's do both. Are you okay, guys, with that?
If they're okay with that, I'll.
Yes, they are.
Thumbs up, please. Okay. En Spanish. Distancia. Todavía la media isla era un sueño. Un arroz integral cogía fuego desde hacía horas. Los presentes merodeaban como moscas los espaguetis. Par de rechonchas botellas de ron le daban brillo a la noche. La tarjeta sobre la mesa de noche al lado de la humeadora se iba llenando de dudas, buenas intenciones y tinta azul. Fulano le declaraba su amor a fulana bailando un merengue de Ramón Orlando. Ella le decía que sí, con esos ojos llenos de malas intenciones, que suelen ser las mejores. Al ver la sequía en las botellas empezó una colecta. Si se acaba el romo, se acaba la fiesta. Fue la consigna de la recaudación. Una de las doñas repetía por enésima vez cabalgando en su mecedora de cuando ella bailó con Machado. Cuando eso se bailaba, ahora se brinca. ¿Y a qué hora que va a estar esa comida? Hacía un acto de presencia entre una y otra oración. La guaguita gris fletada de miedos, camisas mangas largas e ingenuidad, daba los últimos tumbalazos por la carretera principal, dejando atrás los motoconcheros que venían echando porras. Parecían mimes en la distancia. So that's the Spanish one. Let me see if I can find the... I have it here.
I love that you have to put glasses to read the English one. It's like Superman in reverse. Like,
I might forget English if I don't put my glasses on, I guess.
Está bien. It's okay. It's okay.
So this one is half. When I translated it, I named it Half Island Farewell. So it goes like this: the half island was still a dream. Moro with pasta was on the menu. Those present hover around like flies around the spaghettis. A couple of stubby bottles of rum brightened the night. The farewell card on the table next to the smoker was filled with memories, good intentions, and blue ink. Miguel declared his love for Maria while dancing a merengue by Ramón Orlando. She said yes to him with eyes full of longing and bad intentions, which are usually the best. Seeing the drought in the bottles, a collection to buy a few more started. If we run out of rum, the party's over, was the slogan of the collection. One of the doñas repeated it for the 11th time, riding her rocking chair. The time she danced with Machado in Cuba, people knew how to dance before. Now it's a shame. You all look like leaping frogs. The next day, the gray 11-passenger vehicle, chartered with fears, long-sleeved shirts, and naivete, took its last tumbles down the main road, leaving behind the motoconchos that came shouting their last hurrays. They looked like fruit flies in the distance.
Muchas gracias, señor. Oh, perdón. Muchas gracias.
Gracias a ustedes. No, it's because I have to put the glasses to read on the computer.
No, I just think it's cool, man. I'm sorry. It's not... Mira, Francis, I want to talk to you about now that media isla concept. For, I know that all our students and the people that are with us here, they have an understanding that. But from the place that we come from, Dominican Republic, is an island that in geography is called like Hispaniola, right? It's an island of two republics. There's Dominican Republic and it's the Republic of Haiti. So you refer as, in our generation, people like you, like me, and maybe some writers in the 80s, started using the term media isla more often. But right now, talking about fronteras in our country can be, tricky because you can be accused of nationalism. So it's like, there's, and maybe us living in the diaspora, we understand better the immigrant than those living in the Dominican Republic understanding the Haitian. So I just want to, know maybe necessarily about our borders and all that, but how this multiverse that you experience, you come from half an island, but you go to another island, which is Manhattan, which is, as you say, when you say that you moved to Manhattan instead of moving to Washington Heights, let's say, right? Like is it different, or the Bronx, right? A different Dominican experience. So how these borders, these delimitations play in what you do?
Well, the thing to use the whole term of the half island, I think it's for me, it's a more personal thing of like, I will only speak of what I know, of what I think I know, because I don't know it, and like the things, I'm not equipped with all the information that I would like to have concerning the whole island of Hispaniola. So I only talk about the side that I know of, that I experience, because it's basically more of my, it deals more with the memories, with the nostalgia. And also the nostalgia is a tricky thing too, because nostalgia is something that happened, but it's modified because it's a memory. And you might think it was a really cool time, but it probably wasn't, like if you go to the context of it. So I try to be more specific as I can when I try to talk about something, because I don't want to have the Republic of Haiti. I don't want to have that context. I don't know how things move around there. I mean, I've been there to buy Clereng, which is like moonshine. It's a moonshine that is made in the front, in the border, because it's really cheap, and it's basically like moonshine, and you with one liter of, like, not even a liter, it's like 12 ounces, you'll be blasted in a second. But you see, but those are the things that and then I just jump into this what I know specifically. And then when I came to the United States, I came to New York, but I came downtown, which was a different experience, because I remember every time I used to go back to the Dominican Republic, to me it was an experience, because the smells, the sounds, I was like, oh, this is brilliant. But now that I live in Washington Heights, it's like, this is the same thing as the Dominican Republic. It is exactly the same. I mean, you go out, people talk about the same thing they're talking over there. The music that is heard on the streets, the music that is heard on the houses, the pattern of speech, the politics, the baseball, everything is the same. It's just that you are in a more urban site.
Or maybe far away, because it's like another neighborhood of the Dominican Republic.
It's like an extension of a neighborhood from the Dominican Republic.
Hey, I want now, we have a student, Tasnim, right? She's here with us, and she's gonna read one poem from your last, from Tropical York, which is your most recent book. So Tasnim is gonna be reading another poem.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Another poem. This is how they get you, an unhealthy pour of microaggressions to extinguish your self-worth. The battles, the unseen scars plastered on your soul dry up over the windows of your eyes. Half blind, limp across the battleground of everyday life. It's always the effect, not the cause. How did we get here and why? Probability and chance did not get us here, but a well-executed plan, the Silver Surfer, on autopilot. The make-believe idea of once upon a time and the sleight of hand makes us embrace and go to war. Without a proper thought or process, this was confusion. How can we jiggle jackal out of this game?
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tasneem. Thank you for the reading. It was fantastic. Then you know the funny thing about it is that as I was listening to it, I almost asked like, who wrote that? It wasn't like I don't know. It was so weird. It was like, oh wow, who wrote that? I mean, there were things that I liked. So it was funny. Like, I'm gonna steal that idea. That was really hilarious. And thank you for your read. That was pretty nice and smooth.
You know, I feel the same. Like, I just came from Santo Domingo for the premiere of the movie, right? And when that night somebody just said, like, how do you feel like being able to see the characters that you wrote in the screen? And I said, like, I can answer that now. I'm sorry.
I know it's nuts. It's nuts. I mean, how you, and I really like that poem because that poem goes together with another one. I think the name of the poem is a poem. I think that's the answer for the first poem.
Do you have it? Do you have it there? Do you have it there?
I think I do. Hold on, another poem.
And you know, I also one of the things that I want you, while you look for a poem there, one of the questions or the things that I want you to talk today to us is, you know, you're a great actor. You have your, you know, your Frank Hill series about this detective and all that. And but you also, what you get me is for your passion for Shakespeare and how this Dominican kid, you know, can have this suave, this flow with Shakespeare. You know, I love that because especially Shakespeare, because Shakespeare is like one of the most international writers that you will see if you think about that. He wrote in English, right? But all his work is infused by outside, not necessarily, yeah,
by outside forces. I mean, all of these plays are everywhere. Only the histories are said like in England. If you look about it, only the histories, because they're talking about the histories of England, but otherwise it's just Denmark, it's Italy, is the Caribbean probably. But I don't know. I do remember that the first day I went to school here, that I went to college, I took a class and I couldn't understand a single word they were saying. When I sat down in that chair in that classroom, I was like, wow, this is phenomenal. I don't understand a single thing, but I wasn't afraid. I was just like, this is fantastic. I've never experienced this. So they gave us to read, and I believe it was Henry IV, Part 1. And you know, I'm barely understanding what they're talking. So I was like, how am I going to jump on this boat? But there was something that caught me with the syntax.
Okay.
The Old English syntax, because it was similar to the Spanish.
Really?
And that really caught my eye because I could understand. And the fact that it's in Miami pentameter, that is, you know, it's just the heartbeat, which is something that we all have. We have a heartbeat, so you don't have to really like go into that. It's always like it's a stress and a non-stress. So it's boom, 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 boom.
Wow, that's revealing to me, man.
Because when Hamlet goes to be or not to be, that is the question. So, you know, it's like the main points, it's, to me, that's phenomenal. The main points are always up, and it always ends on an up question, because that's what's important in that line, is to be. That is the question. To be is the question, you know, that's basically that line, that verse. So you don't have to really like go into to be or not to be, that is because you'll die doing that monologue. So those were the things that I was just like, oh, but I can really get into the machine of this, because it's just a heartbeat, it's your breath, it's all of that. Like when Richard II goes into the palace, he goes, I have been studying. How is it that he goes? I mean, I have been studying. Now I totally forgot because I have like many ideas in my head, but I have been studying how I may proceed with this. But I can't remember right now because it's just like everything. But the whole thing is that is like how he goes as to make contact with you as an audience, and you like so that you can, your breath can carry that thought. And it's just about carrying the thought. And to me, that was fantastic, because I am more of a person that has to be physical about things. Like if I have to do something, it has to do with the physicality. I can just not sit down and be quiet, because I can't. I have to just be moving or doing something. So in order for my body and my mind to connect and just have the experience. I mean, you know about this because you took a lot of classes and you did a lot of things with people in the art and here, and also things that you've done before in the past. You deal with that. Maybe a little bit of buto here and there, and maybe a little bit of something this and that. And so, you know.
It's the Caribbean on us. We have to be moving.
You have to be moving. It's a constant move.
Mira, Francis, do you find the poem?
Oh, yes, I have it here.
Oh, go for it, man.
It's called A Poem. Early on today, a sax player blew on his brass at a corner on Dykeman Street. A random image, an anti-metaphor. It seems nobody plays an instrument on the streets of these neighborhoods, and yet, part of our cultural entity, we are speaker-oriented, and through our bodies, melodies and rhythms are interpreted. The volatile desire to understand myself and my surroundings at that moment arose a burning desire for a drink. A makeshift bar on a basement of a 3-story building did the trick. Low ceiling, big smoke greeted me at the door. No music, just the sound of glasses and bottles sliding and pounding on tables and counters. You need a drink? A high-pitched voice whistled. Whiskey, need please. At the same time, a dark, short figure made its way into the center of the room. A voice drowned my years of alcohol consumption barked, a poem that hurts. The Dominican dream is unattainable. It is rooted on foreign wants and needs. It is a thought mistook by an idea of a preferred image and likeness. Acting as wanton gods, we create that which we think we deserve. We are not phylacteries. We are that foot dragged relentlessly through days, nights, seasons, and nostalgic fits. The figure left as it came. The sound silence makes poured into the bar. I needed another drink, a bottle perhaps, but I could not talk. I sat there in the hopes to disappear in a tail of smoke.
Bravo, bravo. And that's from El Alto, right?
No, that's from a new thing that I'm writing. That's the first time I read that.
It's a tropical jerk, right?
Yeah, this is the first time that I'm reading that. That's because I'm trying to create a new thing, a tropical York thing. Maybe, I don't know. I have a lot of ideas that I'm working, and I've been working for a year, probably more, but like physically doing it for a year.
Well, maybe, books have their processes, I do remember reading Urbe and telling you that I wrote about it, like I do my lines. I never published what I was planning there. I still have those notes, but I do have it. And it took me by surprise. That's why basically what I wanted to, because I knew that you were an actor, and for Carla, I know that she was in film, but I never knew that you have this poetry thing. I saw you more like a performer, but not that vein of poetry. And then when I wrote El Alto, so you have an idea, guys. When we say El Alto, we're talking about El Alto Manhattan, which is Washington Heights in New York. It's where we have the more concentration, right, of Dominicans, you want to say, in the United States, in the world, in the East Coast, maybe some parts of the world. Like Washington Heights it's Dominican. It's a Dominican neighborhood.
It's actually called Little Dominican Republic. If you go to Google Map, it says Little Dominican Republic.
So for example, I'm going to confess something to you because I'm an idiot,
I doubt it.
All my life, I've been reading that book and I'm like, El Alto. It might be like a nickname that they have for him. And then I saw El Alto. And then you were also, before you launched the book, you were sending like little verses and all that, and it was like a quote, right? Like El Alto, El Alto. And I thought the Alto was a person, like the like the tall one.
Like the tall one, yeah. And people used to ask me like, ¿Y dónde está el bajito? And I was like,
exactly.
I was like, oh.
And then I'm in New York with you and Arturo Victoriano in Hostos College. It was in Hostos College.
Hostos, it was a Hostos, yeah. Hostos, yeah.
And then he said, El Alto Manhattan. And it's like, oh, Ray. Now, you know what? we do gonna have somebody else reading from another student reading from that book, Tropical York, because I want to talk about Tropical York and also the development of your work. But today is Maria Murillo. Maria Murillo is you know, is one of us Spanish students. She's in minor Spanish, and she's great. So she's the one that's gonna be reading now, and she will be reading from Tropical York, Fears.
Hello. Fears. My daughter, just before she drifts off to sleep, with a sweet voice full of tenderness says, "Daddy, I think they're coming. The monsters are coming through the door. I am afraid." I suggest to her to breathe and think of floating pink and purple cotton clouds, whistling "I love you." It's just towels hanging on the bedroom door. Turn your back on them. I stand next to her and make sure she sleeps. Stillness and darkness reign once more. Suddenly, I feel the breath of my own fears, and an avalanche of horrors unfurl over me. Those infallible tips bend against their presence. The wail of an ambulance snaps me out of it. I cling to life. Thank you.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias, María.
Yeah. Thank you.
Francis, yo veo, I can see in your poetry, you have these 3 collections of poetry. Now, if you see Urbe,
Tropical York hasn't come out yet. I'm still working on that. That's a
well, but it's, you know, but okay, Ubre, and then El Alto. I see this situational thing, you know, in the first book is there's a lot of Spanglish and a lot of Spanish and English and a lot of, you know, go back and forth. I want to say that is basically you moving to the island in a literary way, back and forth, right? And then El Alto, the poet already is set up in this new island, but there's you are the dispatcher in El Alto, the Alto Manhattan, no? But now with Tropical York, I see somebody more serene, like more taking care of other issues, not necessarily immigration and the nostalgia or the añoranza. Mainly this poet is a poet that is in New York. That's what I see. Just to tell us about it.
Yeah, it's how you move. Because the things that I'm interested in now in, or that I want to say, are more different because, of course, I'm older. I have a family that I've lived a little more, and I don't even know how to explain it. It's just something that happens to me, and then I can imagine to all the writers, that thing to explore that other thing that really, that we kind of fear. It's not fear per se, but it's just like, what if I jump into that lake? I mean, what is going to happen to me? So I want to do that. I just want to jump in and see if I can float. And the only way I can do it is just by doing it and see where I can get. And I really, because I don't think I think about this. Maybe I do in an unconscious way. I think about these things, but I really love the way that you just explained that right now, because I don't think I have stopped myself and say like, oh, this is that, but it's true. And now that you say that, I was just like, oh my God, yeah, there is a thing that in the first book in Urbe that deals with.
I know my business, baby.
No, you're the best. I know.
I'm just teasing.
Students know he is the best. Trust me, I tell you that. He is a man you have to copy what he does because he's really good and he's really on it and he's a workaholic and he's good. Once I remember I told him that I was envious of his work ethic because I wanted to have that. Because, you know, since I'm an actor as well and a writer, so I'm more a little more ethereal. but now I've learned to just like really sit down and do things more. Because more of my things were like more perform. Perform has just always been on my head. But right now it's true. Right now, what I try to say in Tropical York Blues or whatever how the name is going to be, it's just that thing of what from here, just like let me breathe and let me just be present and just let's see what can happen. Let's see what's the next episode, what's going to happen now, and hopefully people get it. But I mean, it's fantastic that you told me that because I was just like, oh my God, yeah, that's pretty dope.
Yeah, what I see in that poetry is that, like, for example, the poems of El Alto, what you were when you were performing with the band La Sovietika, right? Oh, you were using poems from both books, or did you lean into one of the books more?
No, it was Urbe. I'm pretty sure it was Urbe only.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was more a little more street, like I was on the street. Actually, it was more like I was on the street. I was seeing all these derelicts and all these people, and I was there.
Do you have one of those poems to share with us today?
From Urbe, yes, I actually do have the book here.
Oh, awesome.
Let's see. The thing is, most of the poems are in Spanish, so I don't know which one to choose.
We speak Spanish here. So
Beautiful. Pues vamos a hacerlo.
Nosotros hablamos español también.
Perfecto. Aquí les va. Me dicen si voy muy rápido, por favor. El nombre del poema es en inglés, Homesick, pero el poema es en español. Me balanceo siendo cuello y cuchillo. Mis experiencias no son nada nuevo. Teorizo en un bar de Arden con cerveza de $2. Una bellonera que solo toca bachatas y una mesera de labios morados que me presta atención cuando le da la gana. Bebo hasta que se me acabe el dinero, apuesto a lo segundo que es seguro. ¿Cómo se escapa de la nostalgia? Pajas diarias a larga distancia, una identidad hermafrodita, roedores de uva de playa y maíz caquiao en la 181 y San Nicolás. Cuando duermen, siempre sueñan con enramás y mamajuanas. La cultura artística de una diáspora montada en el palo de la cotorra de una voladora.
In that band, La Sovietika, it was like a mixing between merengue and kind of rock, right?
It was actually a mix of, like, basically it was gaga with blues and rock. And there were times that we used merengue de calle infused with a little rock.
Yeah, and so now you mentioned gaga. Can you tell us a little bit about what gaga is? G-A-G-A?
G-A-G-A, accented on the last one. Gaga is one of the autochthonous rhythms from the Dominican Republic. It's based actually for a lot of merengues and a lot of other things. But the thing is that, as in with all rhythms, when they come up, people go like, "Oh no, that's for poor people," or "No, that's for people that are didn't go to schools, or they're not school, or they didn't
educated." Let's say the bottom.
Yeah, and lowbrow. It's lowbrow.
It's good that you mentioned that, because I want to say something about it, but keep going.
Yeah, it's lowbrow. So, but the thing is, it deals with a lot of drumming and fotutos, which is like this huge tubes that they just blow on that, and then the drums go in the back, and then they have also a whistle which tells you when to change rhythm, but it's usually used in because it's really close to I'm trying to find the words, but I'm trying in Spanish and English, just crossing, in celebrations that are not, per se Catholic or Christian, but they are just that come from Africa, and that also brings another problem with the high culture people. Yeah,
establishment. Yeah, because for years we wanted to no, I don't want to say that we wanted to be white, but of course our governments were trying to lean more into the Hispanic colonial heritage. And you said, see, we're no racist, we're mixing the Taino there, but we know that is maybe fundamental. Now we can have those arguments in academia and in the street. Now it's different. Now we can say, hey, maybe this triangle of races that you are proposing, maybe we are sure that this African element is the base in which those other two lines, the Taino, which was minimal, and the colonial heritage, Hispanic colonial heritage, they meet, we have another student here. We have Tricia Romero. She's in the Spanish 1. And Tricia is going to be reading from Tropical York, September.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. The window is ajar. The wind sips through and playfully bounces on the walls, ceilings, and floor. Wakes me from my slumber. Sleep layered between my eyes. Had a dream I picked infinite crusts with my fingers, and I had forgotten if my hands were clean. Closed the window. Summer has moved to another hemisphere. Maybe today is a good day for patica de puerco y tostones.
I thank you. I love the way you read him. All of you have read him really great. I mean, this is the first time that I'm listening to the poems from Tropical York. That's the first time I'm listening to this right now, basically. And I'm really enjoying how you're reading it. It makes them come alive, and I can see them. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. And those were like pandemic poems.
And now that you are then in the bachata, right now we are in New York, and the bachata has become, because bachata has something about what you said with Gaga. Bachata first was a music that was for poor people, not allowing big places and all that. Then, you know, merengue was accepted, but bachata was still behind. And then all of a sudden, bachata, some kids from the Bronx, Aventura, right, project bachata to the world. So it's the immigrant that projects bachata now that is in Russia, in Japan, everywhere. So what's your take on that, man?
And I was reading the other day, I was reading a book by Leonardo Padura. It was about salsa. And then he has an interview with Juan Luis Guerra. And one of the things he was asking Juan Luis Guerra, it was just like, what does he owe his popularity to? And he's like, to the people of New York. And that to me was really interesting, because the people in New York were the ones that opened their arms to him, to what he was doing with the bachata and all of that stuff. And then to have then Aventura, which was just like propelled. I mean, right now they go anywhere and it's just like they sell them out Madison Square Garden like 3 times. It's insane. When that was a music that when I was a little kid, I couldn't listen to it with elders around from my family, because they thought I was just like, listen, it was better if I listened to metal music. If I listened to metal music, I was cool, but I was okay. But if I listened to bachata, they were like, there's something wrong with this kid. That's how crazy was it.
And we also have here Corinne Martin. Corinne Martin is part of the GSU community. She worked with us, but she's also a student because she's interested in Spanish. So today she's going to be reading also from Tropical York.
The scarf hangs tight to the neck, 3 loops and a turn. The thin cold air is powerless against so much snug. Better, warmer weather lives as a prayer on a few lips. On Hillside Avenue, amidst the frothy garbage bags, a sunflower bends backwards on the railing of a fire escape. Hurdle at the footsteps of the platform. The parishioners wait in silence. Meanwhile, fruitless memories of sandy beaches and chase lounges explode like a piñata with each sigh.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Corinne.
Thank you. So Francis, we have like 16, 17 minutes left. And what I want to tell people is that if you have any questions and you want to write them in the chat, you can go ahead and start doing that now, so we can, talk. And if you want to, because after I ask this question, then we're going to open, like if you, instead of writing the question, you want to ask Francis yourself, then we can also try to do that. Francis, I want to hear exactly. You were writing for the New York Times Review, Books Review magazine for a while. You done translation work too. So I'm interested in that side of the writer, what you do, to make a living, and it's in a way like, writing in newspapers and all that. I want to hear about your experience, and also what do you think about translation? Because you mentioned earlier that how the syntax of Shakespeare help you in your transition to English. Jorge Luis Borges used to say, like, whoever learns a syntax gets a universe. So and now you're working on translation. So I want to hear that, that kind of double work that you have there.
I have been studying how I may compare this prison where I live onto the world, and for the world is populous. And here's not a soul but myself. Cannot do it. Yet I hammered it on. My brain, I'll prove the female to my soul, the father. And these thoughts, people, this little world but you see the whole thing with the syntax, that was Richard II. And it's the whole thing about the syntax, how it's just the same, it's a similar in Spanish. And that's why I felt such a keen thing to that. But I think the working at the newspaper, it's been fantastic to me to understand how, because they take it so serious, their job. Their job's so damn serious, and you learn a lot just from watching that. And the things that come into the book review, especially when I used to be in the book review. Now I'm working on the sports section. I've been working on the sports section for like a couple of years, but it's just to be able to see all these books before they come out and read them, and then just have a conversation about them and the things that, what is up, what is down. And then when you're writing it, and these editors are like, man, they're like neurosurgeons. They go really at it. They read, because what I do is just basically I'm the support. They are doing the stuff. They read, I don't know, like 20 books a week probably, and probably I'm saying little. Because I was the one that used to like give him the books. He was just like, this stack is for you, this stack is for you. And to read all those books and then to pick from those who you're going to send out to freelancers so that they can review it. And then when they come back, they have to work on it. So meaning that you have to read it again. So it's just the amount of work that you have to put in there is fantastic. And that by osmosis, you get that stuff, and then you just want to keep working. It's a good thing now that I'm in sports, because I have more time to write, because sports is basically like, whatever's happening, let's go. And I also do translations of things when they need help with any Spanish thing. They go like, oh, translate it into Spanish or translate it into English. I'm their man. It's a funny thing, because in the newspaper, they used to call me from like different places, and I was just like, am I the only one to speak Spanish in this room? And it's not, because there's a lot of that, specifically Dominican people that are writing and in positions of like really, and in really hardcore positions there. Because my thing is like,
Isabelia Herrera, the daughter of Jochi Herrera. Isabelia is now on the New York Times reviewing
Jochi's
whatever she wants. Like it's not like you have to write about music and all that. Now she's there, she can write whatever she wants, and she just turned 30 years old.
Yeah, and she is a good writer too.
She's great. From Chicago, Dominicana, Chicago.
No, I've read her stuff, and I was just like, who is this? And then I knew that she was.
Just wrote a profile for Bad Bunny for GQ,
For GQ.
And then writing there at the New York Times, like whatever you want to write, I'm close friends to her father, like Jochi Herrera, because he's one of the greatest essayists. He writes essays.
He's going to publish a book one of these days here, no?
New York, he's right there right now. He has a new book.
Yeah, is it on the 20th? I think it's tomorrow.
Well, don't talk.
I don't know. I'll check it out. It doesn't matter, because I remember Miguel Mena called me up. He's like, "You're gonna go to Jochi stuff?" And I was like, "I don't know."
If you can, you should go. He's a very.
I know.
And also, in that book has an essay of my book Saturnalia at the end, so you should go and listen.
And I've read Saturnalia, which I have it over there. I have all your books actually. I have all your books there. But definitely, I'm gonna go. The thing is, like, I'm rehearsing for a Donna Summer musical. I'm directing a solo show. I have to do a voiceover for a movie that I did, and the voiceover that I have to do it with an English-Russian accent. So I have to work on that. So it's like, oh my God, I have to do so many things. I don't even know how I'm going to do it. So I'm just throwing myself on it. Boom, let's do it.
Francis,
and last weekend I did a movie. What happened?
I'm thinking, Francis, that do you think that the Caribbean condition this, because if you think about the Caribbean, it's the place that all these races in some way mixed over the years. It was like the place when people that if you were traveling from Europe, you would stop in the Caribbean in order to go somewhere else. Like, in that condition of Caribbean, pirates, slaves, and all that. Do you think that has a lot to do with the way we adapt when we travel, when we migrate, the way we create communities, but at the same time we adapt to the place?
I really think so. I think we adapt really quickly, and I think it's because of that. Because one of the things is like sometimes it's like one of the biggest questions is like what it is to be a Dominican. I can't answer that. I don't know qué es el dominicanismo. O sea, what is it? But it's just so many things. Because there's a lot of things that go into that pot, and you want all of that because you take all that stuff and you adapt it to your own way. But what is it specifically that makes you that? Is it because you do a certain thing? I don't know. And I don't know. I don't have the question. I just have the answer. I mean, I don't have the answer. I have the question. So I don't know. You probably know it, but I don't. I'm like, what is that?
Well,
¿Qué es la dominicanidad?
Yeah, my students here, they know that we always talk about the value of the question, Sometimes we leave the room with a question, like so that's very important that you do that. If anybody has a question, if you want to, you can raise your hands. If you want to ask Francis directly, if you feel better, write it on the chat. You can go ahead and do that. Francis, now you pick a poem. I've been telling you what to do. Now you pick a poem.
I pick one? I don't know. Let's see.
Something that you want to share with us.
I really enjoyed that. I translated this one, but it was really during the pandemic. I couldn't go out anywhere, so we live here in apartments. So it's basically my only escape was the fire escape that's right there. I used to sit down there and just like watch outside. Because I couldn't even dare to go outside because there was a lot of fear. The day they closed everything, a week before, I finished filming a movie. So the March 13th of 2020 was my last day working from the office at the New York Times, and I haven't gone back since. I've been working from home all this time, like more than a year and a half. And there was a lot of things just watching through the window, looking out the window. And one of these things is just when everything was just so scary and we didn't know which way was left or right. There was a poem that I wrote called La Lupe demolished our hearts into 3,000 pieces. The music has returned to play in the surrounding buildings and apartments. A haze of rhythms curates the night. I am taking over by Como Acostumbro. And with La Lupe, it brings me to Madrina and her memories of back in the days when the green card was green. And she was doing a 10-hour job in an expensive fine midtown hotel in New York, where the era's most avant-garde writers of the time hung out at a round table, and where Madrina, after a 3-pronged fight with a ton of sheets, towels, and pajamas, dressed up for her Sunday's best to see her singer, her Gigi, in her infinite ecstasy and frenzy. Because La Lupe demolished our hearts into 3,000 pieces. The neighbor's song comes to an end and gently deposits me in the present, waiting to see the trains that will not come. Today, it's a little cold. And actually, you are doing a play. You wrote a play about La Lupe too, didn't you?
I wrote a play about La Lupe. Yeah, it premiered last week here in Chicago.
Yeah.
I was in the other premiere. So this weekend, I'm going to get to see it. And we got nominated for Jeff Awards here.
Congratulations. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
As I was reading it, I was like, oh, that's right. You have a play for La Lupe, La Gigi.
And you know what I was thinking also when you were reading, like back when the green card was green. You know, when I moved to the United States, it was in 2001, and then the green card was pink, but everybody will say the green card. And I said,
the green card, because back in the day, back in mid-20th century, it was green. And that's why you got the name green card.
That's great. that verse there is good, man. That was very good. So Corinne has a question. Corinne Martin has a question. She says, like, you've been involved in so many films, theater productions, and poetry. She says that which creative avenue do you prefer the most and why?
I don't prefer one over the other. I think all of them in their moment, they fill me up from what I need. I mean, I really, the thing is, I can be like, oh, I really enjoy writing, but then I'm like, oh man, but when I'm acting, it's just amazing. I did a production of Othello where I play Othello right before the pandemic, and that to me was just phenomenal. And you know, it's just like everything that's an outlet for me to express whatever. It's phenomenal, and I am glad that I can take from those places and do it. So I couldn't say which one I like the most. I mean, depends on what time when you ask me, and I'm like, well, today I like this. Tomorrow I might like the other thing, but I like them all because they all help me to balance myself, I guess.
You know, I feel really happy that the students are able to see you too, because one of the things that we do here at GSU is that we promote multidisciplinary approach to things. That's one of the core things of this school is the approach that we give to multidisciplinary work. So I'm very happy that this, you know, that come to happen.
Yeah, because I remember the days when you couldn't, like people used to look at you weird when you say like, oh, I write, but I also paint, let's say. Like you couldn't do it. I mean, it's ridiculous. You can do whatever you want. It's your time.
Yeah. So Megan Brisson, another student of us, she asked, do you have any specific writing process, or do you just write when the inspiration strikes?
Both. Sometimes you have the inspiration and you write, but sometimes I chew on an idea forever. And then one day, like I make notations and I write, like I got this thing here, I make notations and then I go back to it and I'm like, oh, but that looks interesting if it's mixed with something else. Sometimes it's just sometimes you have the idea immediately and you go like, let me write it down. And that doesn't mean that it's going to be completed. It's just that it's there. And then you got to go back and just like recheck it. But you keep writing ideas, you keep writing thoughts, things that interest you. And even after you do that and then you edit it yourself, then you send it to somebody else to edit for you, so that it's not too precious about the work. And you want not too precious in the sense that it's gonna hate it, but in the sense that what matters is what is gonna, the meaning of it, the end result, not that you will, oh no, don't, that verse, I like it. It's just like, nah, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Yeah. So you got to take it out and transform into something else that works.
Yeah. You have to trust the same book or project or poem or story is going to tell you what it needs to. And it's very hard for us writers to stay away from things. One of the things that I repeated a lot when I was down there now during the premiere of Candela, you know, a lot of people will ask me like, oh, and when you were involved in the screenwriting process and all that, yeah, but I was involved in the process, but I wasn't commanding anything as the guy that wrote the novel. You have to leave the people also on their own creative, you know, in their creative mind. So everybody brings, I don't think that you command anything, especially in writing. You said that you bring an editor to the table, right? The editor is going to tell you stuff.
You have to. And I learned it the hard way, because when I did the a web series called El Alto, it was 10 episodes. It was just like a minute and a half each episode. I wanted so much to control the things. And I think it was a good thing that it happened to me, because I learned. Like I really wanted to control everything, because I really like to like have my hand on everything. But I learned after that project that I shouldn't do that, because it doesn't work. Just, I should trust other people that I bring into the project because they know their job and I don't have to be on top of them. I just do what I need to do and then let it go. And then we talk about it and let's see, we're going to fight a little bit. That's okay. Because, you know, we're here, we're alive, we're thinking. But we're making if the end goal is to make that product the best it can be.
Alisa Hatton, she's a student from FYS. She says like throughout this Zoom call, when you were reading your poems, what a lot of us readers and listeners grasp first is your tone. There's a lot of feeling. How has your experiences shaped you into writing these works?
It's everything. The experiences have been everything. And I think, again, it comes to the prism of my acting world. And let me go back to Shakespeare. I'm sorry that I keep doing this, but let me go back to Shakespeare. For example, there's something that tells the actors that you have to be a certain age to play each character. For example, you are 25 years old, let's say. I don't think it's, you could do it, but I don't think it's possible that you can play Macbeth, because you haven't had the life experience to really understand the things that are going in Macbeth's brain. Now, can you play Romeo and Juliet? Definitely, because you had that experience. You know what it is to be a kid. You know what it is like to have sex for the first time and be like, whoa, that's it. This is it. But each character has his age. And then that's why people go like, oh, I wish I can get to play King Lear, because you have to have all of that experience in order to understand that character. So the experiences definitely shape me into writing. And then when I read it, I see it. I'm seeing it. It's not only just like ethereal words, it's just something that I see and I feel. And that's why it's so different to me when someone reads it. Like, for example, most of the poems that you have read is from the books that is not out yet. Hopefully it will come out one day. But it's just when I listen to it, it's like, wow. It's like it's not me anymore. It's just like that's the thing. It's just like it has to become yours now.
Yeah,
that's what we write.
The experience definitely is gonna alter, like it's gonna influence. I was telling people this couple of days that my new novel, El Germen de lo Fatal, the Seed of Evil, happens in Chicago that is really happening, and it's the first time that I write about Chicago after having it for 12 years living here. And but has a fictional Caribbean, because with the years there has been a little bit of disconnect. You know, I can travel there as often as I wanted to. Maybe sometimes I travel and I have to go somewhere else that is not the Caribbean. And I have some characters that really fed from my experiences in the Caribbean, but the experience is being, so I created a fictional Caribbean, like a science fiction Caribbean, because I didn't want it to give up, you know, writing about it.
But you're doing it from another perspective, which it's not too far from the real one, because sci-fi just means that, you know, that you are creating a world, but it's based on the reality that is your reality.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
And I can't wait for it to come out so that I can read it.
It's coming out in February with Elefanta.
Superb. They're great. I love how they do that.
It's been my longest book to put together, which is also that I wanted to ask you, like, when you put in a poetry book together, do you know, is there a timeline, or you just let that go, or is very artistic?
Well, for El Alto, I had a timeline eventually, because the editor, Miguel Mena, approached me just like, oh, why don't we do this? And I was like, but I gotta do more stuff. I gotta like put in more stuff, because what I wanted, my idea is this and that. So I had to like go ahead and do it. With this one, I'm allowing myself to take my time, because I get anxious. I get anxious because I really want to see the thing. But right now I'm just like, let me just sit down and see what happens. Because the good thing is I have acting to go to. I have other things to go to that are not gonna make me obsess and go crazy. I can do some other things, because I'm also writing a series that I want to complete and just like shoot at least like 3 episodes or something, and then maybe do something with it. Also to write some more scripts.
Well, having a wife that is a director might help, right?
Yeah. I think she's here. She's somewhere here. But yeah, she's fantastic, because she's a director, and she's a director for documentaries. So it helps a lot.
So we have time at least for one more question.
I'll jump in, but if a student has a question, I'd rather let them ask. So I've enjoyed this so much. Thank you. It's
thank you,
wonderful to hear your work. And I have a bunch of questions about your work, but I'm going to actually sort of pivot to something else, which is we are taking students on a spring break study abroad trip to the Dominican Republic in the spring. We're very excited about that.
I'm excited and I'm not even going.
Right. So, we're going to Santiago and Santo Domingo and not looking at the cultural aspects of the Dominican Republic, not necessarily tourism, right? So what's something that you find inspiring there that maybe we can look for while we're there?
No, it's just everything. I mean, just open your eyes and your ears and you will find stuff that you're like, because reality is always going to trump fiction. You write something and you're like, be prepared. Like one of the things, like I've always talked to my wife, she's like, you see, if you put that in a movie, they're going to say, nah, that's not true. And that stuff was so true because we saw it. And it's the same when you go there, just be aware because you're going to be like,
every 5 minutes, I said that to people like, see, me as a writer, I write about that. People say, oh, Ray, you and you.
And then you go like, exagerado. And then you're like, no, that was for real. Like most of the vignettes in El Alto, there were real things that I've heard, and it's like people go like, nah, you make that stuff up. I was like, yeah, well, I kind of like tinker with it, but it was just, that's what it was. But the thing is like, be open to all of that. And also because that's a Caribbean thing of like the whole thing of like embracing people who they don't know, but if you're cool, like they will be super cool with you. So that's a Caribbean thing, and in the Dominican Republic that happens a lot. Like if you go in, they go like, "Primo, what's up, prima?" You'd be like family right away, and you're like, that's too fast. But it's they be hugging and stuff. But not with the COVID, I don't know, and that whole thing, Still, I don't know. You were in the island a minute ago, so I haven't been there in a couple of years, like 5-6 years.
Yeah, it was very nice to go back, but also very short. But I hope that I may have to go in December because I have a documentary coming out too about the whole idea of an island. We made a documentary. Don Framo Pons wrote an essay that beautiful essay that is called "The Isle of Two Republics," Isla de dos Repúblicas. And then he shoot like 80 hours of the whole island on a helicopter. Wow. So all the takes are from
above,
and you can see the island, the beauty, in its splendor. The two countries. So I'm looking forward for that. We've been waiting. We just put the music on it, so we're just waiting.
Nice.
December the 5th, which was the day that Columbus got to the Hispaniola, because Columbus got to an island first in October the 12th, and then.
December what, 5th or 12th? What was it? 5th. The 5th, right? The 5th, December 5th. See, I still remember my history. Wow. but Novia, the thing is like, I want to know when you guys come back, like when you guys gather together to drink coffee or whatever, like what are going to be the experiences? That's going to be the most exciting part of the trip. It's just like, what did you bring from there?
Jelena has here a question.
It's not really a question, just a comment. Thank you so much, Francis, for sharing your art. I really enjoyed what you said what you said about nostalgia and how it's modified. I found that to be so true. I'm also living not in my country right now. And the other thing that you said about being an immigrant in the United States leads us to reflect also how we treat our own immigrants in our own countries, right? Mm-hmm. Or the experience of being an immigrant. So I guess the question is how being Dominican, sorry, I have a fussy baby right here.
Oh, don't worry about it. I have two, so I don't
how
worry.
Is it, being Dominican, you talked about the Heights, El Alto. How is it like in terms of a pan-Caribbean identity in New York, or maybe even Pan-American or Mesoamerican, Caribbean, or Latin American? How do you connect with other immigrants, this larger immigrant identity in the United States?
It's interesting, Jelena, because I was talking about this on Sunday. We have the same need. You can be from wherever you want. We have the same need as immigrant. It's just either a better life because either political situations, socially, because economically, but we have that. It's just we want to be better. So coming out from that point of view, we understand. Like I might miss arroz con habichuela, but someone from from Ghana might mean something, but it's just it's an element of food that I also miss, but they miss. You know, like you can swap those things and you will understand. We are not, because our human instinct is what connects us. And that human instinct, when we are coming to a new place, it's the same thing. We are here and we're like, what now? How can I make my life better for me, for my family? And maybe go back. You know, like you always have that thing. It's like, how can I be better? And then how can I go back and be the dopest guy, or the dopest whatever when you go back to that spot, depending on the age you have. So we're tied together. We understand a need. We have that little thing that is a need, and that we all have it. And the need is not something specifically from the west part of the world, from the east. No. The need is a human condition. And that's what we meet. And that's what we forget when we are making judgments or viewing other things. It's like, but there's a need and we all have it. Just because you are a little up in the ladder doesn't mean that you don't have needs as well, or that you didn't begin there. You know what I'm saying, Jelena? I hope I'm making my point clear. I hope so, because I go into this esoterical thing that I'm.
Francis, I respect your work so much, and I was looking forward for this for a long time, because every time I talk to you, like it's your work is illuminating for me, and it's very motivating. I wanna thank D. Marek for being here today, and Jason Seinsham was also here, but he had to run. But it's very good. Like, and all the students, also Ivan Soto from Alas, which is there too. It's been a gift having you here today.
I thank you. I thank the students for being here, to listen, to read my stuff. It is fantastic to hear your voices reading this. It's just, to me, it's enlightening. You're like, oh, I feel like a kid in a candy store. You know, it's like, oh, this is fantastic. This is, because I like to do this to feel part of something. And when you come into the picture, we are part of that.
Yeah.
And it's just like to have like the tribe thing. It's just like, oh yeah. And I can do yours. And like, for example, I really respect a lot of Rey Andújar. Rey Andújar, I mean, if you have him as a teacher, you are so lucky. I mean, probably now you're not going to understand how lucky you are to have him. But later on, you're going to look back and you're going to be like, man, that guy was the dopest teacher ever. And you will find that out in a few years. You'll see, because his work is excellent. His work ethics is phenomenal. I envy that a lot, because I don't have that. And Novia, thank you so much as well for poner todo esto en función. Again, Rey, un abrazo, because I know Rey for a minute, so I know what a good person he is and what a good guy he is. So un abrazo a todos.
Thank you, and everybody, all the students, thank you. You made this event a great thing. It's been one of the highlights of my semester. So thank you. Jelena asked me earlier how the semester was going. I'm very blessed to have such a good group of students. So thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, and have a good afternoon. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.